Ha-
Hello?
Hello.
Hello?
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Curiosity Cove. My name's Veda.
And I'm your trusty captain speaking, and today we'll be talking about
Coping
coping
mechanisms.
mechanisms. I'm
Me
excited.
too. This is
I've kind of, we like impromptu this in.
yeah, I feel like this was one of those things of like, we were like, oh shit, we need something to put in this week. And then we were like,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you wrote it down as like a maybe.
Yeah.
And then we were
Because it came
like,
up 2 weeks ago.
yeah. And so we were like, oh yeah, why not? And so
Mm-hmm.
now we get to, and it's free flow, which I love when we do these.
Yeah. I
So,
really love when we have like rough notes just to get it started, and then we're like,
mhm,
nah, screw those. We're gonna go flow with whatever gets brought up, and
literally,
let's get into the nitty gritty.
literally.
Yeah.
Oh
How's your
yeah.
day going?
My day is going good. I worked. It felt
Same.
like a really long day. Um,
Mhm.
but my dad is in town, and so he was at the
Ooh.
office because he does like consultant work for the company I work for.
Yeah.
So he doesn't work there directly, but he like works with them in a way because everything out
Mhm.
here is very like community, I
Mhm.
guess, community based. And so naturally they work together. So he was like he came in yesterday and today, and yesterday I walked in and one of my like colleagues was like, "Did you know
Mhm.
your dad's in town?" And I looked over to my left and he's just sitting in the conference room. I said, "Nope, I did not." And I guess
They knew
like
before you?
no one knew he was going to be in.
Oh my gosh.
So, but yeah, so we got lunch together. We got Subway, Sububby.
Ooh, it's a
Um,
good one. I love
yeah.
their meatball subs.
Okay, yeah, not my thing, but I
Oh,
respect it.
fair.
I
What do
respect
you
it.
get?
I get a 6-inch Black Forest ham on Italian herbs and cheese with lettuce, onion, and black olive.
Hmm.
And I know, yeah,
Very
that's
specific kind.
yeah. Well, you know, the tism makes you really picky.
That's fair.
But yeah, so that was pretty much like the highlight of work for me. And then when I got
Mhm.
home, me and my mom and my brother just kind of like sat around and chat about what we're gonna plant outside.
Yeah, for your garden.
So
You excited?
I think, yeah, I'm super stoked because we're like now in this, like I think we're gonna plant this weekend. And so we've
Exciting.
decided on green onion, garlic, ginger, tomato, grape tomato, jalapeno, basil, mint, spinach in the fall,
Mhm.
and I feel like I'm missing one,
You guys
but I
grow
don't know.
broccoli?
I don't want to grow broccoli because I think
Mm.
it's very annoying to grow for the short amount of time that we get up here because we're not like a all around
Yeah.
warm state. I
Mhm.
also learned today garlic and ginger are perennials. So I get to plant those bitches this year and then never again unless they die out.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Mhm.
because asparagus is like that too.
Asparagus, actually, I learned this week. Um, did you know that you have to plant it like 4 years before you want to harvest it?
Really?
Yeah, well, I don't think it's actually 4 years before it's harvestable, but
Yeah.
like it's not good until it's come back a few times.
I also agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
We've had asparagus, I think, a couple years now. So I think
Yeah.
it's just now being okay.
Yeah, so the longer that the roots are in the ground, the more nutrients it sucks up,
Mhm.
and every year those roots grow deeper, right?
Yeah.
So the further that they grow and the like deeper into the soil that they get, the more they soak up. And since asparagus is like a water-based veggie or whatever they
Yeah.
are,
Yeah.
it's better over time. So like in a couple of years your asparagus
Oh.
is going to be based as hell.
For sure.
But I
I'm
learned
excited to
that
hear about the little garlic. I feel like they grow
I'm
weird.
actually really
Just how
excited
my
for the garlic.
Mhm.
What I'm told is that they are very like self-sustaining. So like you
Mhm.
plant them and then you don't need to touch them until you harvest.
Are they
Uh
bulbs like in the ground or do they show above?
so I think they are below the ground,
Mhm.
but I could be wrong about that. I've never grown garlic before.
I haven't either. I just assume they're little bulbs that you just put your hand in the ground and you pull it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I assume because most of those are most bulb plants are like below the ground, right?
Yeah.
Because here's what I know. The part that grows out of the ground blooms.
Yeah.
There's a flower. It's a flower. And it's actually like a really pretty flower. But I don't know if that's a specific kind. I don't know anything about garlic. I just want to grow it.
Garlic out here.
We are. Wait, hold on. Let me check your DMs. That's what garlic looks like when it blooms. It's really pretty.
It is really pretty.
Yeah. It's like
it also looks like a garlic flower.
It does, yeah.
Like if I were to be walking around, I'd be like, yes,
that's garlic. That's wild garlic, for sure.
I agree.
Did I ever tell you the story about my brother and I thinking that there were onions out back?
No.
So there were these weird plants that were just growing, like they almost looked like green onions, right? The way that they were growing. Yeah. And so they were right next to our rose bush, and we were like, are these onions? Or did we just accidentally do we just have green onions now? And so we're like,
from where?
We're like trying to pull them out of the ground, but they keep snapping, so we like can't. And we were like, we don't want to dig because the rose bush is right here, right? We don't want to screw up the rose bush. And so my brother finally, he like digs a little bit and he like pulls one out, and there's no bulb, so they weren't green onions, but they looked like them. And I mean, like, it was very convincing. So then we were like, did all this research. Turns out there's a weed that looks like green onions that grows. It's just a weed. And we just didn't know. Yeah.
How rude. Get that weed out of here.
Yeah. So we whacked those. And then we moved on. But now we're going to grow real green onions, and it'll be fun. And I can't wait. We have a lot of bulb stuff going on.
I can't wait to get pictures of like your little
I'm gonna be in the IRL chats in the Discord servers that I frequent, posting plant pictures all the time.
Plant mama Veda.
I think I also want to try doing like the replant method. So like I want to harvest the green onions and then replant them, like, to spread them or whatever. I guess that's a bad example. It would be more like the garlic, because green onions you just cut from the top and then they keep growing.
Yeah. But yeah, I got what you meant though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then next year, if we do everything right this year. So we're doing spinach in the fall, because spinach can't survive in heat over 75 degrees, I learned.
Yeah, so summer ain't gonna do it.
Right. So we're gonna do it as soon as the temperature starts dropping in like September. Because it's a really fast plant.
That the temperature actually drops.
True.
Because you don't really know what's going on around here.
Our seasons are so scuffed, man.
Oh, they are. It's horrible.
Yeah.
We didn't even have a winter.
Yeah,
well, kind of.
We did,
but
for like
it was more like a bit chilly.
Yeah. We didn't have a snowy winter. We didn't have a lot of precipitation. Has not been our thing lately. So.
And if it does, it comes for like a really hard day or a really hard week, and that's gone.
Yeah. It's a lot like when I was a kid, honestly. When I was a kid, like when we first moved up here, our winters were like really short in terms of snow, but it felt really long because I was a kid, and so I was out there playing in it every day.
Yeah.
And then we would have this gap, and then we would have more, but it would always snow on like my birthday, and that is still true today. It always snows on my birthday.
That's so funny.
It's so dumb. That's early April. It should not be snowing.
Yeah, it should be raining, as it should.
But yeah, considering we get 6 months of snowable weather, like not that it does snow, but it's snowable.
It's not very cash money.
No, it's not, because then our fall and our spring are like 3 weeks long.
Yeah, and I want fall and spring. That weather's like my favorite.
Literally.
I love it. Not too hot, not too cold. A nice good breeze.
Dude, spring started like 4 weeks ago, and it's already over.
When? Exactly. I feel like we just missed it.
Yeah, we blinked.
Yeah, my bad. Should just not do that.
Yeah, we should just probably stop blinking and breathing and existing and everything.
Oh no.
Maybe then spring will come.
Maybe then. Maybe we just don't all be groundhogs.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what's stupid too is the groundhog this year was like, yeah, spring is coming early, and it didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, liar.
I don't know why we still do that.
I don't. I don't even know if the
It's a white
groundhog's
people thing.
real.
Sorry, folks.
I don't know if it's real. Have
Him?
you ever seen it?
The groundhog?
Yeah, I feel like
I watched it on TV a couple years back.
they put that shit on TV.
Yeah.
I feel like I always hear.
Just once.
I
I have
always,
no idea though.
I always hear that he's and like, how long do groundhogs live? Like that bitch is still kicking.
No. It's like they just name it the same name and put junior, third. I think we're on like 4 or 5 or something.
How?
Yeah.
How? What's the? Hold on.
Life expenses.
Lifespan of groundhog is
That long,
wow.
is it?
Okay, in captivity they reportedly live up to 14 years.
Okay.
But in the wild,
So-
they live up to 6 years, with 2 or 3 being the average.
2 or 3?
Yeah, that's a really short
Woof.
lifespan.
Yeah, and we've had what, 4 or 5? I'm curious like how many we're at now because I don't even know how to spell it, to be honest, his name.
Current groundhog name.
But they just keep naming him the same name and they just slap a number, a Roman numeral at the end because they're like, we need this guy.
Wait, Punxsutawney? Punxsutawney?
Punxsutawney.
Punxsutawney.
Punxsutawney Phil.
Punxsutawney Phil.
Uh-huh. I know how to say it. I don't know how to spell it.
1886, huh? There's no way that they keep naming it the same exact thing, actually.
Yeah. They do. They just put a number at the end.
They don't even do that anymore.
He has an actual name?
He's just Punxsutawney whatever. Punxsutawney Phil.
That's just his name?
Yeah.
Okay, so they don't even put a number on it. They just name him the same fucking
They're
name.
goldfishing him, dude.
Damn it.
We're being goldfished. We're being goldfished.
Go fish.
Damn.
Can't do
That's
this.
crazy.
I'm being baited. I thought I knew. I've been goldfished.
You've been misinformed.
I know. I swear it's the same name every time though.
They are literally swapping it like a goldfish.
They're like, oh my god, it's Goldie.
They're like, no, he has just lived since 1886 and he will continue to outlive us all. Punxsutawney, whatever his name is. I can't say this shit.
Yeah.
I can spell it, not say it. You can say it, not spell it.
Yeah, and that'll probably bring us into our next intro of Vadu
Yes.
versus Vadu and Cap word of the day.
So I thought that maybe in standing in for my word of the day, I'll just give a brief explanation of what a coping mechanism actually is.
Yeah.
So coping mechanisms are essentially something that helps people adjust to stressful events. It can be so many different things because sometimes people misuse coping mechanism, and it's totally fine because it's recognized for what it is, basically just something to help you get through stress. But there's a defense mechanism and a coping mechanism. So defense mechanisms occur unconsciously, right? So that's like when people say like, oh, sorry, like I get triggered and that's like this is my coping mechanism. Typically, if it's something that you do in reaction, it's not a coping mechanism. Like if it's just a natural, if you're apologizing for it because it's very abrupt and uncontrollable, it's probably a defense mechanism.
Yeah. Like a reaction kind of thing.
Exactly, yeah. What coping mechanisms are they are conscious and purposeful tools that we use in the face of trauma, in the face of stress, to essentially help manage the emotions that come out from that trauma or that stress. So whereas where a defense mechanism might be shutting down, that's actually a defense mechanism. A coping mechanism would be walking away and taking a moment to think it through and doing a breathing exercise or something. But yeah, I wanted to preface everything with that, so I figured that would be good to do in lieu of my word of the day.
Yeah, that's a really good definition for sure. I was reading into the difference between the two because I found that myself did use not the term wrong, but that I seem to have more like very specific defense mechanisms,
Mm-hmm.
but I've found out that a lot of the things that I do are actually coping mechanisms, like with
Mm-hmm.
for sure definitions following those two.
Yeah.
That was really interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like
Yeah.
again, a lot of people recognize them for what they are. Like, I mean, everything, because defense mechanisms are technically something that we do to cope with
Mm-hmm.
what's going on. It's just that the pure distinction between the two of them, at least on like a psychological level, exists just so that we can explain what's happening consciously and unconsciously.
Mm-hmm. That's fair.
Yeah.
Well, my word doesn't have to do with coping mechanisms, but um I never knew what this word meant, and I was
I'm
explaining to this to
so
Veda
excited for
earlier
this. I'm
before we
so
hit
beyond
start.
excited.
Um the word is tumultuous.
You didn't know what this meant.
No, and here's why. So the literal definition as to what this thing is to make a loud, confused noise or is very uproarious.
Mm-hmm.
The other definition is very excited, confused, or disorderly.
Mm-hmm.
But here's some examples that will probably back up what I'm about to explain to you. So my definition as to before I had to use context clues for this situation or like example, um I just thought it meant a lot of.
Oh no, you thought it was plethora.
Yeah, like a lot of something
Yeah.
or like something like big in regards to like
Mm-hmm.
events or something. So some examples in a sentence
Oh,
would
like a
be there
tumultuous.
was tumultuous applause as he rose to
Mm-hmm.
speak. All
Yeah.
of those things, one after the other, these are just tumultuous events. So it
Mm-hmm.
it can fit that it is like a lot of or a very big thing. I still don't see how like tumultuous equals loud.
Well, because I think what it usually means is
Mhm.
like when you really like break it down,
Mhm.
tumultuous is like to like a because it's based off of the word tumult, like or
Yeah.
um I don't remember how because it's like riotness. I don't
Hmm.
know. I can never say the word, but it's spelled riot and then Ousness. And like
Righteousness?
that's riotousness, whatever.
Interesting.
Um yeah, I can't say the word. I because it's not righteousness, right? Because it's like righteous is something completely different.
Yeah.
So I don't know how it's meant to be said. But
Interesting.
that's what it like what I think the core of it is to be full of tumult. And like tumult
Mm.
is like uh like
Disorder?
uprising, like a riot, like an uproar. So it
Yeah.
makes sense that those things would fit into like even though tumultuous is like usually regarding sound level or like kind of
Yeah.
like the elevation of something, it
Yeah.
is still a very big grand thing. So it makes sense to me that you would like off
Think
of
of it that way.
context only. But also, do you just not look up words you don't know?
I normally do, but this term doesn't come up enough
Mm-hmm.
that it would flabbergast me. Also, I'm very good at getting by with only context clues.
Yeah.
I can normally still follow along with a conversation if I can A, break the word down into Latin and get the gist,
Yeah.
or as the conversation continues and I'm still held up on, wait, what does tumultuous mean? The rest of the conversation is happening and I'm like, ah, yes, and then I just go along with it. Or if I'm feeling very like, oh shit, I have no idea what's going on, I'll just bluntly ask.
See,
I normally try not to though.
I I am so like that on words where like like somebody used the word shit. Uh hold on. I think it was like biblioclept or whatever.
Interesting.
Biblioclept, that's what it is. And it means at least from my understanding, because they were saying like they were talking about a girl that they used to know who would like go to the library, and
Yeah.
like they called her a biblioclept, and because I know that
She
kleptomaniac
likes
is
books.
stealing, I was like,
Yeah.
oh, biblio is book, so biblioclept means she
She's
takes
a
books from
book
the library. Yeah.
thief.
So
She's not, isn't she?
I can do that super easy, but when it comes to words that are interchangeable that are like super large, like I think monotonous when I was younger was one, because people would be like, "Oh, well, it's monotonous," and I'm like,
I don't know what that means.
okay, monotonous,
I would have said
yeah,
phenomena, and I was
yeah,
like, yep.
literally. So like when people use words like that, or like the first time that somebody used like I was flabbergasted by that, like usually there's some sort of context afterwards where I can totally get that one.
Yeah.
But when it's like a word that can be used alone in a sentence, like, oh, well, I don't want to do it, it's monotonous. Like, or like I don't want to do
Yeah.
it, it's
When they don't
mundane.
continue the sentence, I'm like,
Yeah.
please, I need you.
Yeah, because then I'm like,
Please.
okay, well the only thing I get from that is that it's a negative word.
Yeah, that's
So
why
please.
if you catch me, I do this often. If we're ever in a conversation and like someone uses a big word, or like I just need to know if it's bad or not, I say, "Is that a bad word?" Like not meaning
Yeah.
curse word, but like is that in not negative connotation? Or I ask
Yeah.
like that means good, right? And then the conversation continues. I just need to know which connotation we're taking the word into context with.
Yeah. I've been
Yeah.
on the receiving end of this for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a whole bunch of, I actually have a huge list of words for my like word with Vado that I compiled.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them are like really fancy words, and then some of them are like very dumb. Like not scrump level, but like pretty dumb.
I cannot.
Every episode, baby.
I need to find a word with Cap that is at the level of scrumping. I will never have one because it's too good.
Scrumping,
Yeah.
I got a whole bunch of different types of apples to try.
Did you scrump them?
I did not scrump them. I bought
Damn it.
them. I did buy
That's
them.
fair.
Actually my mom bought them, so
Are
technically
you
I
trying
guess
to
I'm scrumping.
broaden your apple pool?
Yeah, because I know that I like
Oh.
Honeycrisp, and I know that my favorite apple is a
Barf.
Zestar apple.
Interesting.
Which is very
Is it yellow?
Zestar, no. It will
Damn.
kind of. It's like it's a really strong apple. Like I
It'll
don't
keep
know.
the doctor away or what?
Oh, for sure. You like one a day?
Yeah.
Ain't no doctor coming near you. Here, I'll send you a picture of what they look like.
I just feel like because you said zest, I thought lemon, and then I thought it should be yellow.
They're very, you'll see
Not
what I mean
yellow.
by their strong apples. They're like,
Oh,
they
these
don't,
looks like if you bite into them, you're definitely gonna hurt your
oh,
teeth
you're gonna
for
get a
sure.
crunch, you know?
Yeah, a crunch for
A
sure.
crunch
Yeah.
for sure. But they are like very in between sweet and tart, and that's where I like my apples to reside.
Yeah, that's fair.
So like Honeycrisp I like because I love the like tartness of a Honeycrisp once you get past that like very crunchy layer. Like it again, it lies in that kind of like gray area. What I love about Zestar is there's some weird like hint of something in it, and I can't place what it is, but it makes the difference. So I love them.
Good.
The sad thing is they have a very short like growing season where they're really good.
So it's like you grab them and then they're gone.
It's like the very beginning of September, and then by August, like they're now out of season.
Wait, beginning of September, but the end of August?
I'm sorry. It's the opposite. I'm just dumb.
Okay. No, you're good. I was like, hold on. Damn, so only have like a month for you to enjoy your Zestars, and then you're done for the other 11?
You know what? Here, let me look up the actual dates.
That's so sad.
The season is...
I think I'm very appleist as well. I only like galas.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Nice,
Yeah.
nice, nice. Yeah,
Feel like
so
you need to
they
broaden my
grow
horizon.
through okay. They go through zone 3B to 4, which is essentially late August to early September. So it's
Oh,
like
so half
2
a month.
weeks. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my god, that's
Um
so sad.
yeah, and I go and I pick them at one of the farms near, and cuz they last 2 months in the fridge,
Yeah.
and I just get a bushel and I just
Hell
stick them right
fucking
in
yeah.
the fridge.
How much is a bushel? How
Um
many apples you get? Is
a
bushel weight class and not how many apple class?
A bushel is, yeah, a bushel is like 64 pints.
Damn. Of
Uh
squeezed apples.
it's about 40 something pounds. So it's like
That's hot.
it
I
is
love
a
that
lot of
Can you freeze an
apples.
apple?
You can refrigerate an apple.
Can you freeze an apple though?
Can you freeze
Because you have it's still liquid in
can
there.
you
Because
freeze an
there's
apple?
sugars. So I don't see why you
Yes,
couldn't.
you can freeze apples whole, sliced, or diced. They will keep well in the freezer for months.
There
Freezing
you
helps
go.
retain
Get
nutrients, but
yourself a
some may
baby
start to
freezer.
break down if stored for more than a
Damn.
year.
Oh,
But they
okay. So
are
you'll be good till next
they're
Zestar
so
season.
here's what you do is you keep they're good in the fridge, right? For like
Mm.
2 months. So you keep them in the
Uh-uh.
freezer for like 9 months, right?
Yeah.
And
So
then
you've
you
been
take
doing
them
good.
out of the freezer, keep them in the fridge for 2 months. Now you've got 11 months. By the time you're done with them, boom.
Zestar
Zestar
season.
season.
True.
That's
It's
the life
foolproof.
hack.
We broke it down right on
Yeah.
podcast. You're welcome, guys, by the way. Any Zestar lovers,
Yeah.
go scrumpin'.
Are we an Applecast now?
We
But
might just be.
get it
But
because Applecast, Apple Podcasts.
uh-huh.
um anyways, I've decided in my okay, so the whole point of this, if you have not tried them, you need to at least give a chomp into a jazz apple.
I want to try a golden delicious.
I don't like golden delicious apples, but I will say they have a pretty decent crunch, and I'm a big crunch gal, you know. I like my crunch.
Yeah, I like a good crunch.
Yeah. Yeah. So
I agree.
but jazz apple, I would recommend you try it just a little bit.
just a smidge.
So in our chat, Bebo is saying I already have a podcast that does apples. So do you remember where scrumping came from? I said I listened to a podcast and they were talking about it. We are following their path right now so hard.
Are you serious?
Yeah, we're going down the same rabbit hole they are. So before we do that, maybe we move on to coping mechanisms.
All right, don't worry, guys. We're bringing it back on track. We're nearly 30 minutes in. Don't worry about it.
Oh god.
No, I didn't know how we wanted to like go into this because I got some basic definitions of some stuff, and then I was thinking since we have the general knowledge after that conversation, we can dive into like how we cope with some stuff and some de-stressors we do personally.
Yeah,
Would you
I'm
like
cool
to
with
go
that.
that route?
Yeah, I'm totally sick with that.
Okay.
You have
Well,
like a
since-
whole bunch of technical stuff, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna try not to be too technical about it because we don't need all that jazz, but jazz apple. But I do want to make sure that we get the basics down.
Still, fuck, I love you.
Well, I do say that. It was just great timing.
Yeah.
So, since we already did a beautiful explanation of what a coping mechanism is, we're gonna go ahead and divvy up the different coping styles, the different definitions for both, and what kind of stressors are defined as. So in general, a stressor is anything that will trigger a fight or flight or freeze response. The side effects of these, if you are put in that situation, would be increased heart rate, increased breathing, high blood pressure, increased alertness. You're really focusing on everything around you, heightened sentences. Everything just feels like everything's on edge, up 1,000%. And as a science way of things, increased release of blood sugars to hopefully get you in that flight move. But if you are having these stressors happen too often or a lot in one day, it can cause a multitude of things. Number one being difficulty sleeping. A lot of people who tend to have a lot of stressors that impact their life seem to have a difficulty of sleeping, whether that be they can't fall asleep, they can't stay asleep, insomnia is super big, or it's their sleep schedule is so out of whack. There's changes in appetite, headaches happen, stomach pain, overall body aches, rashes, um, sadness, anxiety, depression, and then overall lack of interest in other things just because you're too stressed to focus on those hobbies or things that'll make you feel better to even worry about it. um so I have a bunch of different kind of coping styles or definitions to how you can analyze what kind of coping you have or that happen. So two of the ones that are compared to each other or pinned against each other, I guess, would be active versus avoidant coping. Active being something where you recognize the source of your stress and you're taking active steps to change that situation or the way you respond to it. And then on the other hand, avoidant coping is when you completely ignore the problem or main issue that's causing you stress and decide to do nothing about it. You just kind of like, well, if I don't see it, it doesn't matter. But you want to try to like focus on the active side of things, of course, just because you don't want to have the situation where you're just having to live through life without ever having to come in that situation ever again and not knowing what to do with it. So hopefully you guys are using active coping. Um Another two that are compared to each other is a problem focused coping and emotional focused coping. The problem side is this aims to change or eliminate the source of your stress. This only works if you have some control over the situation or control over the issue that is bringing the stress upon you. For example, you're frequently in fights with your partner and this causes a stressful relationship, or your job is asking you to do presentations or a heavy workload that you're not really sure how to do it, and that causes you stress because you don't know how to do it, or you're really scared of like public speaking in front of people, so the presentations would be really difficult. And then the opposite would be emotional focused coping, which is basically it's impossible to avoid stress completely, particularly in situations in which you have no control over. So these strategies can help you change the way you respond to the stressors instead of completely being able to change the outcome or um, the thing that is to be happened in the future. For example, if your partner or family member is diagnosed with cancer, um, you're unable to change that outcome, but you have to change the way your mind has to handle that new stress or new future. So you have to change how you feel about it. Not exactly to like brush it under the rug, but you have to figure out a way to cope with that newfound knowledge for you, even though it might be something difficult to handle. Or at a party, if you were going out with your friends, or like even a business meeting, like kind of party, but being around a lot of people like makes you anxious. So then you have to figure out, oh, well, shit, I still have to be here, but I really don't want to, but like I kind of have to fake it till I make it kind of thing. So you just gotta develop little ways that you can like push through it in a way. And then my last two that are also pinned against each other is adaptive coping mechanisms and maladaptive coping mechanisms. So, adaptive would be this empowers you to change a stressful situation or adjust your emotional responses to stress. These would include taking deep breathing moments, meditation, setting aside time to do exercising. If you guys like journaling, that's really good too. Talking with a friend is always something I highly recommend, especially if you have that one special person that you're like, I can totally trust to talk about these things with. Taking a moment to, even though you're looking on the negative side of things, sometimes
Mm-hmm.
try to have positive thoughts towards it. Taking a nice warm bubble bath or a hot shower. Taking a moment to read your favorite book or a new book. And then it also says aromatherapy. So have one of your favorite smells or
Mm-hmm.
something that reminds you of a time where you're like, this is what I mean to feel serene and like at peace.
Mm-hmm.
And then maladaptive, of course, mal being bad. So these are not very good coping mechanisms, are negative ways of dealing with stress. This can commonly occur in people who have experienced childhood trauma or abuse in their past. This behavior might temporarily distract you from your stress, but it doesn't really lead you to a really good long-term kind of way of dealing with your trauma or your emotional um look on life. So some of these might include drinking alcohol or excessive amounts, using drugs, anger outbursts,
Mm-hmm.
denying or ignoring the problem entirely. These also, next ones, trigger warning, if any of these words do upset you or cause you to have not the greatest reaction to them, I'm very sorry, but they do come up in this conversation. Self-harm is another issue.
Mm-hmm.
Binge eating is another one.
Mm-hmm.
Negative thoughts or self-deprecation is another big one. Or full-on isolating yourself from any people who are there to comfort you and help you along with those, your
When I
support
feel attacked.
circle. Yes.
Yeah.
So those are big no-nos, or at least things you shouldn't do for long periods of time, because I know that isolating yourself, at least taking some time to like figure out how you want to go about a situation and like taking a moment to be have some alone time. And plus some people value alone time a lot as a very good way to reset themselves. But just make sure you're not doing it in a way that you're like cutting people
Like
or
in a
things out of your life in a bad way.
self-detrimental. Yeah.
Mhm.
Cause
Yeah.
cause earlier we talked about shutting down as a defense
Mhm.
mechanism, right? This is like the equivalent to shutting down in a coping
Mhm.
mechanism is like self-isolating. And
Mhm.
it's not it is a coping mechanism, but it's not a super healthy one because long term you're just not addressing your problems.
Mhm. Yeah. But
And
those are
it's
a
also
lot of
something I
the
do.
big comparisons that I got through. And then
Hmm.
after that, I don't got nothing else
Hell
until
yeah.
we talk about ours.
Hell yeah. Well, I definitely do some of those.
Yeah.
So, the on the latter half of that, the ones
Mhm.
where it's like, I used to do alcohol, which was
Mhm.
not fun,
Yeah.
and now I'm sober, so it is fun. Um, but I very much feel like I am super terrible at addressing my problems. Like I really am. I'm getting better at it, but like I think I've always been terrible because I always help everyone else address theirs, right?
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
so it was kind of like, you know, the whole practice what you preach thing. I never did that.
Yeah.
So I would
And I
tell
feel like a lot of
people,
people who say that are like, yeah, I've been told to do this, but I don't.
yeah,
It's like
yeah,
very
yeah.
common.
And I feel like it's the thing of like you are so convinced that you understand how everything works that you're like I don't have to worry about, but like you can't, like you can only put things into perspective for yourself so much. Like somebody else is, this is why I think everyone could benefit from therapy, because I really think just having that other perspective, especially
Mhm.
if you are someone who's good at playing the role of the therapist or the counselor or the
Yeah.
confidant or whatever you want to call it, I think it's really important to learn coping mechanisms from somebody else so that you can kind of like get that other perspective. Because if everything's
Mhm.
from your perspective, you're like, well, I would never find myself in this situation. Obviously, that's why I'm giving you advice on it. But the truth of it is, you can find yourself in that situation. It's a lot easier than you think.
Mhm.
Like, I can't tell you how many times I've given people advice on like expressing themselves while I myself never expressed myself easily. Like
Mhm.
I bottle things up for sure. Like I'm definitely one of the people who like ignores my own problems. I don't think I'm in denial of them. I just ignore them
Yeah. Or you
actively.
at least like acknowledge them, be like, I don't want to deal with that right now.
Yeah, it's no, it I make the choice to ignore them for sure.
Yeah.
So like a lot of stressors that pop up, I'm like, yeah, I'm not gonna deal with it. I'm just gonna let that one go. Um,
Yeah.
and then I do when I get like down and like when I'm in my time periods of like being very down in the dumps, I do
Yeah.
isolate. I pull back from mainly people who are recent in my life. I'm like I'm
Mhm.
going through that right now where
Mhm.
I pull back from like newer friends, and
Yeah.
I have to convince myself to
Mhm.
essentially like talk to like my current close friends, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
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 So I definitely do both of those, but I think I have a lot of healthy ones that I'm slowly like replacing,
Yeah.
and so I'm proud of those. Do you know, just out of curiosity, are you
Yeah.
fight or flight or freeze, or does it differ?
So I was thinking about that when I was doing these notes. And for me, I think it depends entirely on the situation. Um, if we're also adding into the term of fight, if the willingness to have a conversation, slash argument is within that realm, I would say I'm more fight, just because I'd rather try to have a conversation, even though it might be a negative one or an outcome that I don't really want to have seen.
Mm-hmm.
I like to have the conversation instead because I would rather try to find an outcome there or have time to put my words into a way that I can express how I'm feeling or how this situation is bothering me rather than the flight portion of leaving and like trying to dip on out as fast as I can, and then the freeze option of just like, I'm gonna put a pin in it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But I do
Because
need time to like figure out my words because I'm a very like formulative person where like
mhm,
if I can't talk to you about it, I'm one of the people who like will write you a letter
right.
or like a really well thought out text
Mhm.
explaining everything, but it just might me take me a second, but I
Mhm.
will want to have the conversation.
Yeah, so you're like a flight then fight in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that
That's
makes
just
sense.
because I don't want to word vomit. It's
S-
happened too many times. I
Yeah.
hate it.
I feel like that still falls under like I don't know, because this is what I was thinking about when you were
Mhm.
talking about like fight, flight, freeze,
Yeah.
is that I like to think that I'm fight, because when I get into really sticky situations where like like action needs to be taken,
Yeah.
I do take it, but I don't know, because like I also am someone where I feel like sometimes I am very obviously flight, but I almost feel like because that's like the only option. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like to put it really bluntly, if a bomb were to go off in like a public place that I was at, I would be the person to like try to herd everybody towards, like, I'm the fight person, like I will absolutely be herding everyone towards like the safe exit, but I'm going to flee as fast as possible.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm not going to be looking for suspicious people. I'm not going to be going back in for people. I'm going to herd as many people as I can, and then I'm out of there. So like I
Yeah.
feel like in those instances, like the like dangerous ones, I'm probably flight, but like in everyday stressors, I think I'm a big fighter.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I feel like in danger situations, I too would be a flight person where
Hmm.
granted, I think I'll have a momentary freeze, but
Yeah.
then I'd start moving and then I'd try to either worry about myself, depending on
Hmm.
the situation, or I would try to get as many with me as I can because I feel like my protector side or like you need to come with me or else
Yes.
like something bad is going to happen, like will happen.
Yeah, 100%.
But definitely in like stressors day-to-day stuff or for example, like me and my friend are out and I step away from my friend to like go grab a drink or something and I come back and I see someone picking a fight with my friend, like I'm going to
Hmm.
be right next to you and I got your back.
Yeah.
Or like if we need to have a tough conversation with someone or like what's another fight situation? Or like you need to like stand up for yourself.
Hmm.
And I feel like I'm more just to do that in stressful situations rather than the dangerous situation
Hmm.
being like we need to all go.
Yeah, exactly. Because like you always hear things about those people who are like you know, I was held at gunpoint in an alley and I fought the guy. I'm like, hell no, you can have my phone, my keys, my wallet, my shirt. I don't give a shit what you want. Take
Yeah.
it and I'm leaving. Like, I'm leaving
Yeah.
alive.
Yeah.
Like I could never be like a fighter in that kind of situation. But
Mhm.
like if we were at a bar and there was like, you know, trouble brewing or whatever, I'm going to be the first one to step up and initiate like confrontation. I'm going to be the person to like defend or get security call. Like I will take that action, but not if I think that taking the action means that I or anybody around me is in immediate danger.
Yeah. That's
So,
fair.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, that was just I was just curious.
Yeah.
But do you know of any like negative coping mechanisms that you have or
I was thinking about that when you were talking through yours, and
mhm.
I definitely can say, um, I shut down. That's one that I do know that I
Mhm.
have, depending on the situation, of course. A lot of these are going to be depending, but
Mhm.
if it's like a reaction, like a defense mechanism, it normally happens like without me knowing, or if I don't see me getting through to another person in regards to a situation, I'll shut down. It's not like it's like me choosing to, because like either I know it sucks to say, like, quote unquote, I don't win this situation, or there's no point to. I'll either just be like, oh yeah, for sure, and I'll just drop the conversation, or I've been tending to do this thing where it has been a better thing than shutting down, I can say, is I just say, hey, I really don't want to have this conversation right now, I'm done. And it sounds very rude and blunt, but it's a lot better than the two out negative outcomes that'll happen. Either I shut down and you won't get anything out of me for the next couple days because I'm pissed about the situation or really upset and I don't want to talk to you, or I outburst. And outburst is something I really don't like to do, just because I am a very thoughtful person in the way that I don't like when my words hurt another person or they don't come across correct. So anger outbursts are a really big thing. That is a
Mhm.
no-no.
So you get like
Um,
snappy?
yeah. Like,
Yeah.
I don't like being mean, but like if you push me to that, like I have
Yeah.
no problem doing it,
I
even though I
feel
don't
like
want to.
I feel like I don't have that issue all the time, but
Yeah.
because I bottle everything up, there's every
Mhm.
once in a blue moon like I apologize to whoever's next if it happens, but like they
Mhm.
get like 3 years worth of pent up emotion all at once for
Yeah.
like something
Yeah.
really small too.
Exactly, and I hate that. I
Yeah.
hate that's probably the number one thing that I hate about anger outbursts, because it's different from like a you keep pushing me and I'm gonna blow up in your face, versus this same thing that you keep doing has been pissing me off or like
Yeah.
annoying me for the X amount of years, and now it just hit you in the face because you did something wrong. Like that
Mhm.
was so minute, but
Yeah.
because like I had all those other reasons, now we have a problem.
So do you hold on to things? Like are you a past person?
I can for sure say I was.
Yeah.
Probably in my teen years, I will say. I would say now I try not to, or I've
Mhm.
made very good steps to not be that kind of person, just because I know that the past doesn't always mean the person.
Mhm.
It can be a part of the person or the situation, but I try to I'm always that person that's like, I'm gonna look towards the like better side of this person or give this person so many chances, XYZ. Um, but it's really hard sometimes to look past it, especially if the past issue keeps happening in the
Yeah.
present,
No, I
if
for
that makes
sure
sense.
no, I for sure get that cuz I used to be kind of like that too. And like today, I'm very much a today person. Like I'm in the here and
Hmm.
now a lot more often than not.
Yeah.
And it's funny cuz me and my mom and my sister were just talking about this on the road trip down for my
Hmm.
vacation last week, and which by the way was super fun.
Yay.
But uh we were talking about it on the way down because my sister's boyfriend is very much like a here and now person as well. So
Mhm.
she was like, I just don't get how you guys are like this and da da da. And I'm like to me, it's like the past is already decided and the future is unpredictable. So the
Yeah.
only thing that I can control is this moment right here and now. Why would I
Mhm.
live in any other timeline? Like, why would I
Yeah.
put my head in any other time than just right now?
We were talking about this at work, in a way, because some people have some issues with other people, and that's
Hmm.
like day-to-day stuff, you know?
Right.
Like that's just like it happened today, drop it, don't bring it into tomorrow. But there is some times where the past eats away at someone,
Hmm.
and the only way I view that is why would you do that? Or like why would you let that happen?
Right.
In regards to now, instead of living in the now, where you get to enjoy life, hang out with the
Hmm.
people that you are currently hanging out with,
Hmm.
or look to the future with plans that you have planned,
Hmm.
you are now sitting here in a wonderful day, and now you're looking at something that happened not even like a couple months ago, years ago.
Yeah.
Why are you still talking about that? You can let it like bother you for a moment
Yeah.
because it's okay to like have your feelings come up and you could just sit there like, why am I thinking about that right now? Like, why is that bothering me? But you can't let that emotion or that specific situation eat away at you. You don't got time for that. We're not here for a long time. We're here for a fun time. So there's no
Hmm.
reason to be worrying about that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is don't get me wrong, the past and the future are important, right? It's important to
Mhm. Very
plan
much.
ahead. It's like to have goals, to have, but this is I feel like where I get myself into a little bit of a pickle being such a here and now person.
Mhm.
The future doesn't mean much to me because I don't know what's going to
Cuz
happen.
it hasn't happened yet.
Exactly. And so like because I'm so go with the flow, it is very hard for me to like set goals and like stick to them
Mhm.
because the second that it veers off course, I'm like, oh well, that's just life, and like that's a problem.
Yeah.
But and then
Mhm.
with the past, I let everything go, and so because of that, I end up very much becoming like the person that people come back to, and like I just
Mhm.
let them in again.
Mhm.
Or like the situations that I've experienced in the past, like I think too positively when I'm in the here and now, right? So like,
But there's a difference.
mhm,
There's a difference in you let the people slash things from your past not bother you, but the difference is you'll never forget.
yeah, and I think
And
that's
I
what it
think
is.
people don't understand that.
Exactly. I think that people often feel like there's a difference between remembering and holding on to something, right?
Uh-huh.
So like
Mhm.
if somebody fucked you over 10 years ago, you can remember that, but if it's
Mhm.
been 10 years, why are you holding on to like why is it an active thought in your mind, you know? Why is it
Mhm.
in the forefront?
Yeah.
Um so I
That's what
think
I'm
it is,
saying.
yeah, I think it is one of those things of I'm somebody who thinks that we are on this planet for way too short of a time to always be
Mhm.
angry or always be, super caught up in the past or super caught up in what the future might look like. I mean, like, all we
Mhm.
have really is the here and now. So it makes sense to me to be there. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's one of my big thing. And that's something that I learned like in the last 5 years. Like, I used to be a future and past freaker out or whatever
Mhm.
all the time. Um, I never held grudges. I always thought grudges were silly.
Mhm.
I would disassociate myself with people. Like
Mhm.
I would definitely like let it get to that point. But even then it wasn't because I had like any sort of animosity over what they had done or whatever. It was just that you no longer are someone that I value in my life, so I'm just not going to think about you. I'm just going to cut you out. I'm not going to think about you anymore.
Mhm.
Um
I think I've actually had that same like epiphany moment where I needed to do that. The whole if you don't have impact on my life, why would I keep you in it? Or
yeah.
why would I deem it worthy of me thinking about that moment over and over again? But I hadn't had that until probably a year out of college. Because number one, you're still fresh out of college. You haven't really like got that mindset fully that like you need to do that, or you have new thoughts on how you want to like handle your emotions or people that you once knew. And I can say, after having like cut those people out of my life or made the decision to text them and be like, hey, this is where I'm at my life. If this is not okay with you, I'm done. And after having done that, it is so relieving. It is so nice not
Mm-hmm.
having to think about that all the time. And I feel so much more free about it and not so draining.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah.
such a waste.
And like that, I feel like those are the moments in life that I enjoy is when I figure out what's been draining me by
Mhm.
cutting it out and having that like energy back.
Yeah. It's not, it's like whoa. It's a whoa factor.
It is. It is like an oh shit moment for sure.
Yeah.
Um and yeah, and I think a lot of the positive coping mechanisms that I have, which we'll get into in a minute here. I think a lot of those have kind of given me those like oh shit moments because it's been like I'll do something and then the rest of my day that weight is lifted and I'm like, "Oh god, this feels amazing."
Yeah.
Yeah. So, as far as positive coping mechanisms, do you have any off the top of your head that you like know that you're like, this is so healthy and I do this and it's,
Yeah. Yeah. So I have a lot of them that are used as like de-stressors where like it's me um trying to just de-stress from the day or to not let myself have to get to the coping mechanism part,
mm-hmm,
because I would value de-stressors as like you're almost to the point where you like need to physically do something about it, like
mm-hmm,
to regulate how it's going, but this is like a preemptive like breather that you could just do on the daily, and it also happens to be like hobbies and stuff. And then I have actual coping mechanisms for when I'm like overstimulated, upset, or angry about a situation. So the actual coping mechanisms that I broke down that are separate would be leaving an environment that I'm in that is overstimulating, or leaving a conversation that I'm having with someone that is either stressing me out or making me upset. One of those people who I'll listen to the conversation because I want to understand like why you're upset with me, but I'm also the kind of person that like needs to step away to formulate my thoughts and like, is this really worth having this conversation over, or is this just a fight waiting to happen? So I would like
mm-hmm,
to rethink over what's happening. And then I also get to moments where it hasn't happened in a while, but sometimes if I'm really upset about something and I'm crying like really hard, I try to like not try, I hyperventilate very easily,
mm,
especially if I'm really worked up about it. So I do this thing where I cup my hands together, whether that's interlock fingers or don't, and you put your thumbs up and you blow on your knuckles, and it practices feeling something like something around you.
mm-hmm,
It practices regulating your breathing, and I found out that there are direct veins that are right there that help actually calm your heart and how fast it's moving.
mm-hmm,
So it allows you to also focus on how hard your heart is pounding in your chest, and so it has a lot of regulative properties. So that's really nice that I found that out. Found it on TikTok, by the way. Um, and so I do that a lot if I ever get in those moments, or if I can feel myself getting worked up. That really helps. Or if it's like a me problem and like I don't know what is wrong with me, like I always have this phrase where I'm like, if someone's trying to offer me help, or like, hey, you seem like you're really down, do you want to talk about it?
mm-hmm,
Sometimes I know what the problem is, but most often than not I don't know what's wrong, and I just know I'm upset, but I
mm-hmm,
don't know what from. Was it happened today? Did it happen last week? or did I just blow something out of proportion? So I have to like set aside alone time to either sit to my own thoughts, or if I need another person there, I like having a really good friend of mine, or I text them and be like, "Hey, I don't really know like what's the problem right now, but I know something is upsetting me and I was wondering if I could talk to you about it." And I like going through like what happened during the day. Was there something that happened specifically that triggered this? Or sometimes I just like having regulative time, maybe once a week if that is your preference. Just sitting and thinking like, how did my week go?
Yeah.
What upset me? What could I do better next week? And
Mm-hmm.
I've been doing really good about those. And I've actually been having a little goal each week since the start of the new year. I said that I would try and do something scary once a week. Um, and that's like um text a friend something about how I feel, or send a picture to a friend that is something like new I did, or try a different food, or call a friend on the phone,
Mm-hmm.
or like for example with a lot of my online friends, I've been sharing a little bit more about like who I am as a person, not just like
Right.
a gamer tag.
Mm-hmm.
And it has been very scary, very nerve-wracking, but a lot of the people who I've told about this goal, anytime I tell them, I'm like, "Hey, can I talk to you and have this be my goal for the week?" They're like, "Yeah, of course, let's do it."
Mm-hmm.
And then we have the conversation or a talk about like something new. And then they normally don't say it right away, but at the end of the day, after it's happened, they normally text me like, "Hey, I'm very proud of you for doing this." And it makes me feel like, oh my gosh, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
It's been like very positive for me, even if it's like really scary and like my hands start shaking, or like
Mm-hmm.
I overthink it really bad. Cause then that little bit of positive reinforcement like helps me keep moving along. And I think there's only been 1 week where I didn't do something. So I'm really
Yeah.
proud of myself for that.
Hell yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah.
love seeing you like come out of your shell more. And
Mhm.
it's funny because I was just talking about this with people in the Cove, where we were talking about how I think people severely underestimate like the strength of online friendships.
What do you
Like
mean?
I think that oftentimes people are quick to say like you don't actually know that person, or like you don't know like who they could actually like they're behind a keyboard or whatever, but
Yeah.
every single person that I have ever met, like in person after knowing them online, and I'm safe. I make sure that I know them like for a long time and that I like trust them to we meet up in public places so no one freak out. But every time that I do that kind of thing, like they're the same person as they are
Yeah.
online.
It's just now
And
you're seeing a physical form.
exactly. Now I'm putting a
Mhm.
name to the or the face to the name or whatever. And so
Yeah.
I think people underestimate them a lot because they think that people are so different online, but we're so involved online today that I feel like you are yourself when you log on somewhere.
Mhm.
Especially in like the gaming community, like a lot of the time you can't help but be yourself when you're gaming because you're zoned into something that you actively enjoy.
Yeah.
And we are ourselves when we're happy, like the
Mhm.
most. So I think people just like don't give online friendships enough of like a uh
A
what was
true IRL feel.
yeah. I feel
Mhm.
like they don't give them the same kind of like level of importance or level of strength or whatever. But like
Yeah.
some of my online friends are the long like I have some of my longest lasting friendships are people that I've known from online. So
Mhm.
I think that's insane. Like my one of my best friends in the entire planet, I met online when we were like 16, and now
Mhm.
I call her my sister. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's insane. But yeah, I feel like I think I relate a little bit to some of your coping mechanisms. Things that like I think maybe I do like in passing every now and then.
Yeah.
Um I have so many and they change so
Mhm.
frequently because like as my mental health journey change, like how my thoughts shift require like
Mm-hmm.
new coping mechanisms,
Yeah, for
because
sure.
sometimes things will not work after a while, or sometimes things will, like, my thoughts will change, or the frequency like will change, and so I need to, I guess, adjust or like come up with a new coping mechanism for something.
Mm-hmm.
So like I have three big ones, which I feel like are the ones I'm going to share. Um,
Mm-hmm.
one of them is playlist building, and I know that sounds kind of funny, because it's not like some sort of like very professional seeming one, but it
Mm-hmm.
is something. Music has always been like an outlet for me, always
Mm-hmm.
throughout my whole life. So for me, it's kind of like this whole process of like, if I'm feeling some type of way, let me use heartbreak as an example because it's easy. There's a billion
It's
songs about
yeah.
heartbreak. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I will build a playlist of a whole bunch of songs that I relate to, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then as I'm listening to it, the more I relate to the words, the more that I realize whoever wrote this relates to me.
Yeah.
And then I think about how many people go to see them live, and then they relate to that artist, right? The words that the artist
Yeah.
is saying. So then these other people by proxy relate to me too. I'm not alone in this, and this is a normal feeling, and it's not, all these people are doing okay. It's not the end of the world. And so that really helps me in those like really, really awful situations. Like that's a big one for me.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be anything from like, a heartbreak like that, to the loss of someone, the loss of a friend, moving towns, or like when I
Mm-hmm.
moved from the city to the suburbs. It sounds weird because it's not that far of a move, right? But like I'm
Mm-hmm.
losing like my super active life for a place that, grocery stores close at night. And so that's
Yeah.
so that's like, it's weird to me to like have to shift between those two. Or like um when I go through like a really stressful situation. So like for instance, when I kind of started getting into this like depressional pit, right? Like cuz I had my 3-year long now mental health journey. It
Mm-hmm.
started very, very rocky. like
Yeah.
I went from being at a plateau to straight down the rock bottom. And when I
Mm-hmm.
hit that point, I did this. I did the playlist thing, and I knew to get help because the playlist thing wasn't working for me, and I was
Mm.
like, yeah, this is getting
Uh-oh.
really, really bad. Um
Mm-hmm.
but that's something that's always helped me. It's just like being able to find a song that I relate to, or like a collection of songs, because then it puts it into perspective for me, like how normal it is and how you can get over it, and how
Mm-hmm.
like you can go on and use that to channel all of these emotions into something beautiful, like a piece of artwork, a piece of music, a piece of writing, anything. Um, which brings me to my next one. Art is really big for me.
Mm-hmm.
Art is not just a coping mechanism, but something that I fully enjoy doing. And so a lot of the time, if I'm feeling, I know that you've seen it, but to anybody who maybe has not seen my artwork, there are these three pieces that I did of women who are basically being like taken over by flowers. Like there's flowers
Mm-hmm.
growing onto and into them and whatever else. And it is a very big reflection of the stages of my mental health. So
Mm-hmm.
there's one where it is like very evident that this is like a negative thing, like it's very bleak. It's very like, I guess muted would be the word, and very like kind of rough. And that is like the representation of like my feeling in the initial like depression that I got into. And then there's
Mm-hmm.
another one where it almost like can feel like the woman is like fighting back, and that's
Mm-hmm.
very much my journey. And then there's one where it's like she's like in total bliss, like at peace and everything, and
I
that's
think
like,
that one's my favorite piece, the
yeah,
bliss one.
yeah. And that's where I am at now, where it's just like I fully accepted this, whether it's a bad or a good fate, I'm in the moment. And like those are very reflective, and like that was a big deal for me because not only was that like a kind of beginning of me being like, oh, this is something I can really use as an outlet, but also like it was the first time that I stepped away from something and said, I am really proud of this. Like I like emotionally proud, like not just like, oh, I did this well. I'm like, I cried during those. Like it was a very big deal for me. But it makes you feel incredible because now you've got this visual thing that you can show someone to be like, this is how I was feeling. And whatever you interpret out of that is, you know, your reflection of it. But like this was me. This was all of my emotions throughout my entire journey crammed into these 3 pieces. And so that one's a really big one. I don't do it much anymore. I kind of, my art is a little more on the back burner these days. I still make sure I get to it because it is super important to me that I keep that in my life. But I wouldn't say that I use it to cope anymore as much as I use it to like just genuinely express myself. So like it's never something that I do to get rid of stress. It's always something that I take that like stressful situation that I was in that I'm now out of, and I channel it into something that's representative of like me accomplishing, like getting better, getting sober, like whatever you want to call it. So that was a big one. But the other 2 that I do is, I know I've told you about I think I've talked about my walks on the podcast before. So that's a huge one. Just making sure that I like, if things are really getting to me and I have the ability to, I walk them out. And walking is where I allow myself to kind of like have these panicky thoughts. And so, I mean, I think exercise is a really big one in general. Like, I think when people talk about coping mechanisms, exercise is a really big one that's out there. Just like staying active and like using your, like getting your stress out by exercising and everything. But I never really believed in it until I started doing these walks, and I was like, holy shit, like not only do I feel good because I just worked out, but I also feel good because like I just processed everything. So yeah, I would say that one is probably my biggest one, if we're being honest. And then my last one is a very like scientific, psychological one. It's reframing thoughts. And I've talked a little bit on here when we did our episode with Nuna about this. But something that I was told when I was in therapy was that I have this tendency to catastrophize. And what that essentially means is when I'm processing something, like something I've said, a situation that's at hand, any sort of like stressor, and for people like us out there who have social anxiety, every word you say is a stressor. But whenever I have anything like that, what will happen is I will think about it. What's the worst outcome? That is 100% what's going to happen. That's catastrophizing. It's like, it's always jumping to what's the worst that could happen. That's going to happen. I used to think that that was myself setting my brain up for like the worst outcome so that I was prepared, but then also if anything else better than that happened, I would be very joyous of it. But when I started going to therapy, my therapist was like, no, that's not you being proactive. That's being you. That's self-detriment. Like you're doing yourself a disservice right now. And so she taught me how to reframe thoughts. And reframing thoughts, I think, is very strong. It's something that you can do yourself. It's something that you can start with whatever is comfortable, and you can introduce like bigger scenarios if you need to later. You know, it's very easy to do. So I'm gonna teach you guys how to do this, okay? If I was telling somebody about something that upset me, right? Like let's say, let me try to think of an example. Let's say I planned to play games with some friends, and let's say it was Cap, right? So like me and you, we're playing to play a game, right? You say no to me, right?
Nah, you know what? I'm good.
Yeah. And then you tell me it's because you've got something to do, right? Okay. I go on to Discord and I see you playing games with other people. Right? And you've just told me that you can't play games tonight. You've got important stuff to do. I want to tell you that this upsets me, right? What is my first thought?
To either rant to someone else because it upsets you, but you don't want to talk to that main person. Or your first thought is like, if you're catastrophizing it, is, oh my god, she hates me and she never wants to hang out with me.
Yep. So catastrophizing would be, there's no point in me bringing this up to anybody, including Cap, because obviously she's made herself very clear. I can see the chat that she's in. She wants me to see it. She hates me. She wants me to know without having to tell me. I can't believe I didn't notice the signs. I'm so stupid. You get on this rabbit hole, right? That's your old way of thinking. Throw that out the window. Get out. Throw it out.
We don't need that.
We don't need that. That's no longer important. What you're going to do now is, this has upset me. And because we are good friends, I should talk to her about it. So you think what the worst thing is, and then you go, no. This is how we're going to think about it, because this is the correct way to think about it. You sit there and you rationalize to yourself, and it is everything under the sun. My biggest problem is being very quick to think that I am the problem. So reframing my thoughts really helps me forgive myself and show myself compassion. And it's in things like that. So let's say the reverse happens, right? Let's say that I say no to you. I'm like, hey, Cap, I know that we had stuff planned tonight, but unfortunately I've got stuff I got to work on. And I can't hang out tonight. I'm so sorry. And then I finish my stuff, I get into a Discord call with, like, let's say I go into the Cove, right?
Yeah.
Let's say that you then see it, right? And you go, hey, I thought you had stuff to work on. Old me in the past, this is what I would do. Holy shit, she saw it? I'm the biggest fucking piece of shit. I can't believe that I did not talk to her immediately after I was done with my stuff. How could I be such a terrible friend? How could I?
Yeah, but no, that's not it.
That's old me, right? That's old me. New me,
oh my
right?
gosh.
New me goes, okay, I did make a mistake, but I was busy. And by the time that I was done, I did not think to check with Cap and see if she still wanted to do anything. So we will talk about it and it will be fine. That's new me, right?
The other side of that, though, is you can't be upset if the other person already made plans because y'all made the decision that it was a no-go.
Right, exactly. And so
that's the thing that's a little bit more difficult working in the past that I could not get around, but now I've become more chill with it because, like, number one, we already had the conversation. There's no reason to be upset about it.
Right.
But the other side is, like, not catastrophizing them saying no.
Right.
Is, like, still a work in progress.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is that, like, I think you have to develop these, like, kind of mini mechanisms for, like, these very specific things that happen, right? So, like, instances in which you feel some sort of emotion that you don't feel too often. It's good to have, like, a little mechanism. So, like, jealousy is one for me. I never get jealous, right? Until I do. And and during those short moments, it's like, it's usually over something really dumb. Like, if okay, best friend, right? Lexi, right?
Yeah.
Let's say that she and I had a thing we used to, I'm trying to think, we used to take drives, right? We used to go on drives all the time. That was our thing.
I love drives with my best friend
too. It's amazing.
It's such a vibe.
But we used to go on drives all the time. We used to go down to the city and we would, like, put a song on and see if the song was a skyline song, is what we would call it. So we would drive past the skyline with the song on and we would say yes or no, this is totally a skyline. We had a whole playlist, everything. And if she were to start doing that with somebody else, like, let's say, trying to think of someone she's been hanging out with recently that I don't know, but we are so involved in each other's lives that I don't think that exists.
Yeah.
But like, let's say like she's got a couple of friends that she's made through Ryan, right?
Yeah,
So
like some chick name, we'll call her Brenda.
yeah,
Some
like
chick named Brenda.
So Lexi comes to me and says, "Oh my God, Veda, me and Brenda went down to the city last night to do like a Skyline drive, and I found a new Skyline song." Instantly, I would be so like jealous
I would
of
cry.
yeah, I would be hurt and I would be jealous because like that's our thing, you know?
Mm-hmm.
In the past. Now, me with my coping mechanisms, I would take a deep breath and I would say, "You should show me the song, but also can I talk to you about something real quick?"
Yeah.
And I would talk it out with her. That deep breath is now my coping mechanism for that stuff because like jealousy is irrational to me. And I have the thought, but if I take 2 seconds before speaking, because again, I'm usually a fighter, so I immediately want to do something.
Yeah.
But if I take those 2 seconds to step back, take the breath, and just in my head go really quick, it's not that she doesn't like you anymore, it's just that she went and did this thing with the one person because she knows that it's a good idea to do it and it's super fun, and then exhale, right? Like
I do that too.
Yeah, you have to get all of that on like that thought in with the one breath, but
yeah.
but I'll like breathe out slowly and then I'll say something like, "Yeah, totally want to hear the song. Can we talk real quick though?" And then
Yeah.
that would lead into the like, "Hey, it hurts my feelings a little bit. It's totally okay that you did it. It's totally fine. It's just me being a little butthurt, and I just want you to know that." And like I'm not afraid to admit when I am butthurt. I've done it quite a few times to like my friends.
I've gotten better
before.
at admitting it as well.
Yeah, because there's been times where like we'll have stuff planned. I mean, you know how much of a madhouse the Cove can get to be.
Oh my God, especially when there's 15 to 16
For
people
real.
in call.
There was a point where I had very specific plans, had them for like weeks, and it kept getting pushed back. It finally happened, and then it was oops, GG's, we're not doing it. And so I got really upset because I was like, I've been trying to do this. I feel like I'm being put on the back burner time and time and time again. And so like they were like, somebody asked me like, "Oh, do you want to do something tomorrow?" And I was like, "Dude, I don't know. I'm butthurt right now." And I just like, I'm not feeling like making any plans. I do not know. I don't know when I'm going to want to make plans. Sorry. And like, so I'm very open about that stuff now, but it used to be that I would keep all of that bottled in. So I feel like that's another thing that I've gotten really good about is like venting or just like expressing myself better.
Yeah.
Because now I know it's a two-way street, even though it's always been that, and I've just been seeing it as a one-way. But yeah.
Yeah, I've kind of taken this new thing that I've been trying to do a bit more is even if like I know we're good, like me and like my really close friends and stuff like that, I've been trying to make a little bit more of an effort to message more people, even if it's just to be like, "Hey, how's your day? Like, how's it going?" Stuff like that, but also like to understand that I can't hang out with everybody in the world at every given moment in time at any time I want.
Yeah.
B, it's okay that if I go to ask or if someone asks me to hang out or to like watch a movie or play a game, that it's okay to say no or that you are doing something else at the time. And C, that it is also okay to be in a call and doing something parallel with the rest of the group of people, but not necessarily doing something at the same time.
I will say that is something that I'm really thankful for in terms of like, I feel like I've always been like that, right? Like Discord calls with my friends has never meant to me we're doing the same thing. We all have to be doing the same thing, right?
Yeah.
It would happen, but like people would be on separate games all the time in my IRL friend group and then when I got into the Cove and everything. And I'm really happy that that is something that has been like kind of stretching out to other people. Like I feel like it's influenced a lot of people to look at it that way.
Yeah.
and not feel the need to always be involved in whatever's going on.
Mhm.
And I'm really thankful for that because I think it's really healthy to learn how to be okay with not being included in everything. Like to get rid of
Mhm.
the FOMO, right? And to be
My
like,
FOMO's something awful.
me too. Me too for sure. And so whenever and it's like the smallest things will give me the biggest FOMO and it makes no sense to me whatsoever because like it's not like I'm not missing out. I'm just not doing it right now. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that's the way that I've been reframing it because otherwise I go insane. I'm like everyone's having fun without me and I'm just like I'm off. But like
Another flip side of that is not getting overly upset or even upset at all if someone didn't immediately think about you when playing a game, watching a movie, or in a VC.
yes, a
Like,
hundred
it is
percent.
okay. It's still hard, work in progress,
Yeah.
but it's definitely one of the more harder things to get over because you can't just think like, "Oh, well, Veda hopped on League and she didn't even invite me."
Yeah.
Okay, well, what if
Exactly.
she wasn't even thinking about me?
Yeah.
That's okay.
And I
Like,
mean
what if
like
she's playing with someone else that doesn't involve me?
and
That's okay
I feel
too.
like a lot of it like it comes with the territory in a way too because when you get into this like kind of state of spreading yourself amongst like a whole bunch of like different people,
Yeah,
different
your
groups,
hangout
whatever you want to
groups.
say. Yeah. When
Mhm.
you kind of get to that point, like I cannot even count on both of our hands how many people I actively talk to and hang out with, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And so, yes, I am spread a tidbit thin, of course, but luckily a lot of the people that I talk to actively are kind of in the same headspace I'm at where we have a lot of people that we talk to, so
Mhm.
we aren't going to get to see each other all the time.
Yeah.
And like a good example, like there are two people that I love, love, love from Senchi specifically for this.
Mhm.
One is Chalky because
Mhm.
me and her will have gaps where we like don't hang out very like we only see each other on like podcast day for league stuff or like every once in a while, and then we have spans where we hang out for like 4 or 5 days straight, and
Mhm.
it's never discussed of like I wish we hung out more or like we don't hang out enough or what. Like it's just both sides are like we talk to a lot of people, like we have our groups and we hang out with a bunch of people, and like when we do hang out it's like super super fun, but it doesn't have to be every day. And it was just
Mhm.
so from the start that was understood. The other person is Klaus because he is so like adamant about it's okay that we don't talk every day. You don't owe anybody anything. That like I've never had that, but like such forwardness on like you got your own shit to do. We're here if you need anything,
Mhm.
whatever. And so like those are like the two people that I've met through Senshi at least that are like
Mhm.
prime examples of like my favorite type of person when
Yeah,
it
I can
comes to
agree.
like
I think
involvement.
Klaus's behavior of being okay if y'all don't talk, but also being very forward about like his reassurance to other
Hmm.
people and
It's such a
wanting
trait I
to
wish
make
I
sure
had.
it is. It is. It's very impressive as well. Like, cuz
Hmm.
to keep that up and to have that mental like that
Yeah.
all the time, not that it's draining, but it's something that you can admire in someone. And I think it's very impressive that he can do that and that he's very emotionally mature in that standpoint
Hmm.
to
I
be as
think
forward as he is.
I think it shows security in his friendships and where he stands with people too.
Oh
Because
yeah.
like me and him will not talk for like I mean we have our snap streak that we keep going, but like we won't
Yeah.
like talk for like 2 weeks. And then I'll hop into the mansion with y'all and he'll be like, we have videos saving up. And I'm like, yes, we have to have a day to watch them. And it's just like it's just so nice because I don't there's no pressure in friendships like that where it's like
Yeah.
you've got your thing that you do, I've got my thing that I do, we're good and we know we're good, I'll see you when
Mhm.
I see you and it's going to be a blast.
Yeah. I like those that are feel like even though time may have passed when y'all hang out again, it's like no time has passed. But
Yeah.
I also like the ability that if I do need to check in, and even if it's like every once in a while, I like the ability to check in with friends who are there to have an emotional conversation of, hey, are we good?
Yeah.
I noticed that we haven't talked in this long, and I know it's normally not an issue, but I feel like this, and I wanted
Yeah.
to talk to you about it because I know you'd want to bring it up to me and have a conversation the other way around, so I'd rather bring it up to you now and have a conversation about it. I like
Yeah.
people who are very important to me to have those conversations because it can be very scary, especially to an overthinker like myself. You can blow things out of proportion and things can just be made up on a whim. But in reality, after you have those amazing conversations with said person, it's fine. It's
Mhm.
okay. And that reassurance just really helps like back that up.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it there's like something to be said about like the conversations that you can have, because like if you if you know that you can talk to somebody and say like, "Hey, we're good," right? Like there's like that's a level of security, because that means you're fine with the answer being, "Yeah, I am upset." You're ready to talk it out with somebody.
Yeah.
And
I
that
love that question.
and
We
that's
good?
such like a strength that I admire in friendships, of like, "Hey, if there's something bothering you, like please tell me.
Yeah.
I'm here to talk it out." Because it just shows like not only that you're able to put in the effort, but that you know you can work stuff out with this person, like that your friendship is that strong.
Mhm.
I love those. I love those
I do
friendships.
too. I love it a lot. I love people who are active in my life, even if it's not all the time, but we have that like unspoken spoken thing. And I like it. I like that we can have those conversations and have a good time and just act like no time has passed. I love it a lot.
Yeah,
And it's very admirable.
I agree.
Mhm.
There's a lot of beautiful, beautiful people out there in my life, and
Mhm.
I'm very thankful to have all
Me
of you.
too. Me
Yeah.
too. I did have some other coping mechanisms I didn't mention because I didn't know if they were. I
Mhm.
labeled them as de-stressors or like things I do to wind down from like a rough day
Mhm.
or something that I enjoy doing to lighten my mood. One of them you know about as well because it's one of your favorite things too is music. Music
Yeah.
is really big. Um, have gotten into the addict part of things of where I need to share music.
Yes.
And Klaus got me on this hype of listening to, oh, well, he talks about his Discover Weekly, but also I talk about oh man, what's the playlist? It's like that thing
Daylist.
that what?
Daylist.
No, it's like the thing where like Release Radar, that's what it's
Oh
called.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Where it like shows stuff that you might be interested
yeah.
in and it's like newer. I love that. And so I send
Mhm.
out new music that I've been keeping up. I've been bottling up a lot to send to Tomo soon, so I'm holding off on that.
Nice.
And then also watching movies. As a movie addict myself,
Yeah.
watching movies is just like really big for me. And also, I've found, and I've known this, is like I absolutely adore sharing them with people. And right now in the mansion, and I know I have to get back to watching movies in the Cove too, because me and Tomo need, and some other people were interested in too. We had to watch Pacific Rim and like the Planet of the Apes movies. But right now in the mansion, we're going through the Lord of the Rings series, including The Hobbit. And then so we've just been enjoying like playing separate games
Mhm.
and just having a good time hanging out while I have a movie up. And I think
Mhm.
that's one of my favorite things to do because it also involves like practicing being okay, that I don't have to actively be doing something all the time with everybody at any
Mhm.
given moment. But it's also like I can learn new things about the movie because Wellmore is really knowledgeable about Lord of the Rings,
Mhm.
but I may only know a certain couple things, especially when Aragon broke his toe when he kicked that helmet. But anyways, a bunch of other things from the movie as well, and I think that's really neat and I love it. And also
Yeah.
playing video games is a huge de-stressor. Well, dependent on the game, but it is a de-stressor of mine as well.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, I have self care Sundays sometimes after I get home from a long day of work. I take a really long, hot shower and then I put on a little face mask and I turn on some nice chill music, and while my face mask is setting, I just lay back on my bed and like either blast a type of music or play lo-fi music, and I just sit there without any electronics besides the music playing and just lay there. Maybe take a nap, but mostly it's just to try and lay there and just vibe and
Yeah.
just de-stress from the whole day. The nice hot shower relaxes the muscles and opens up the pores. And then
Hmm.
right afterwards, I get in my little jammies, all comfy, and I grab myself a bowl of ice cream. It's
Hell
not every
yeah.
Sunday, but it definitely helps a lot, especially during like a rough week slash work weekend.
Yeah. I think that's
Mm-hmm.
absolutely fair. And I think I personally I think that they probably all of those probably fall under uh like self-compassion, but I
Yeah,
also think that self-compassion could be considered a coping mechanism just because like
I would say.
it's something that you do for yourself when you are faced with stress. So it's I mean it counts.
Yeah, I agree. I just didn't know which one it like fell under, even though I definitely think like self-compassion slash self-care is definitely a coping mechanism on its own because you're choosing to put time aside for yourself and do
Mhm.
those things that you know will help relax your person and your mind. And I think it's really good that people choose specific time to do that. And even during those times when I decide that I'm having a self care day or a day that I just want to be alone, like, because you can
Mhm.
totally have those too. I did it last week where I had a really shitty day and I knew that I was like, I don't want to talk to anybody. And not that I don't want to be mean or anything, but I just don't want to talk to anybody. I want to do
Yeah.
my own thing. I turned off Discord and I just sat here. I played Dino Game actually, blasted music. I had a movie on my different monitor, and I was just sitting here, and it
Mhm.
felt awesome.
Alone
And I
time
love
is
that.
strong, man.
Alone
I
time is very strong.
it is a good learning to be with yourself is so hard too. And if you can crack that and you can learn how to like pass time enjoying like the just your surroundings and like you
Hmm.
with yourself, like that's I mean that's a really big hurdle for some people.
Yeah, even if you start out small and you like pick not a whole day because like that could be a lot for someone right off the
Yeah.
bat, but like for example, if you finish playing a game of League, for example, and it didn't necessarily go the greatest, or it was like the LG for everybody, but they're gonna still do their own things but be in call, just literally say, hey, I'm gonna step away for a second, or I'm gonna go get a drink of water. Sometimes I do this. I say I'm gonna go to drink of water, and I tend to be quote unquote a little bit longer than getting a drink of water.
Yeah.
It's normally me just walking around my place, enjoying my little time. I am getting water, trust me, but I'm doing other things as well, just as a little breather, a little breakaway, because you don't have to be there all the time, even though your FOMO might be kicking in. Trust me, you can push through it, I promise. But taking that little step away in between games, or like if you need to take a quick fiver, that's okay too. Start off small. It always is easier to work yourself up instead of start off big and have a really bad time.
Yeah.
Mhm.
No, I completely agree. And I think honestly the incremental stuff is really big. And I think doing things incrementally like that is that's the key to success to
Yeah.
me is
Mhm.
working something into not starting something, working something into your schedule, into your life.
Mhm.
Like my walks, I started with walking around the block. I would walk around the block and I would just have like a quick think to myself. And
Mhm.
then I like, upped it to, maybe I'll add this, couple streets in. And
Mhm.
then, eventually got to the point where I was walking around my whole damn neighborhood next to me, like all that kind of stuff, and just like
Yeah.
vibing to some. I'll put on a podcast, I'll put on music, whatever it might be. Sometimes I even take Discord with me, pop it in,
Yeah.
boot up. I won't say anything, I'll just listen. Um,
Yeah.
but,
I'm a really big listener too.
mm-hmm,
Like if I don't have anything to say, I love just listening to people and
yeah,
hearing them play games and talk about stuff or whatever they're doing. Or if they have a stream up, hell, I'll just sit there and watch it the
yeah,
whole time and I'll enjoy myself. I have a very good time. And I like that.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I like
Got
that a lot.
any last notes on coping
I don't think I do.
mechanisms?
I actually feel like this whole session of podcasts counts as a coping day, a coping mechanism time.
I think I agree with that. I feel like, honestly, Fridays are such a, I guess, a coping mechanism or a de-stressor, at least for me. Like
Mm-hmm.
being able to like talk on the podcast and like kind of like our chats before and after, and like kind of just
Mm-hmm.
getting to like, discuss my day and then get into this like really fun topic. It is very much like it takes weight off my shoulders because I'm like, I'm enjoying this moment so much. Like, this
Mm-hmm.
is.
I don't know if I've told this to you recently. I genuinely look forward to podcast
Oh
days.
my god, me too. Some
I absolutely
things,
adore them.
sometimes I like debate on whether or not to tell you things because I want to like withhold them so that I can like accurately discuss it on the podcast.
Yeah, there's some
Like,
things like I get really excited to tell them. I'm like, oh my god,
mhm.
wait, but I can say it on the podcast. It'll
Yeah,
be
me
like
too,
so
me
much
too, me
fun.
too.
Or like our little chat before we say,
Hmm.
and we're going live. And I just get
And
so
10-second
excited.
warning.
10-second warning and switching over.
Hell
I love
yeah.
them so much. I do.
Hell yeah.
So I do have some news in regards to next week's podcast though.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, your captain will not be there next week, but I can guarantee that next week will still be just as amazing and just as fun. If you guys still tune in, Veda will have a little something something cooking up for you guys. I don't know if we have a teaser so far, do we?
We do not have a teaser. I'm working a couple of things out.
So
So
it'll even
this
be a
one,
bigger
I mean,
excitement.
yeah, you guys are totally in the dark for this next episode. Honestly, me too. I'm still a little in the dark. So, but we're
Well,
gonna
I'm glad.
we're gonna work we're gonna work that stuff out probably this weekend. And then
I'm excited to be a listener. It's gonna be so much
I'm
fun.
it's gonna be so weird not having you here.
I
Like the
know.
last time that you weren't here for one, I had
Mhm.
Chalky, and like,
Mhm.
even though you weren't there, it still kind of has that vibe because we're talking about something that the three of us usually talk about, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like this time, to not have you and not have Chalky as like the stand-in or
Yeah.
like the other co-host is going to be
Yeah.
so wild to me.
Mhm. There'll be a
I
whole nother
hope
person in my seat. They better
I
keep it
hope
warm.
we do it justice.
You guys will. I promise. It'll be
Teehee.
amazing. And then I'll be back for our league spotlight at the end of the month.
Yes. But until
Yes, yes,
then,
yes.
Cubbies, please remember, keep it
Keep
real,
it real, but
but
keep
keep it
it
curious.
curious. Goodbye.
Goodbye.